it's Stream from where the yolk is grown. As you can see, we are standing in the kitchen, and that's because in today's video, it's time to start preserving our harvest. So we are going to be preserving our tomatoes in two different ways. We're going to preserve it is our larger tomatoes. Now I don't have enough of those large tomatoes just yet to make a tomato sauce, so rather than letting them sit on the counter and waste away because we can't eat them all at once, we're going to roast them so we can peel the skin off easily and then put them in freezer bags and put them in the freezer until we do have enough large tomatoes so we can come back in a different video and make tomato spaghetti sauce for you all. We're also going to be doing another preservation of our cherry tomatoes. Now we have gotten a lot of those, so we've got to get, this will be the second time that I've done this, but the first time I've recorded it. But it's my absolute favorite way to preserve cherry tomatoes, and that is to make a marinated cherry tomato. I've done this for a few years now. I used to just put them in the refrigerator and we'd eat them, but last year I took on the experiment of trying to can them, and it was a success. So this year I'm going to continue that because I absolutely love these things. You can eat them on anything. You can make a pasta dish out of them. You just warm them up, put some spaghetti in it, toss them around. You can put them on a nice slice of warm and toasted crostini bread or make a bruschetta out of them. I mean, the options with this are endless. There's so many dishes that you can make with it. But if you all are new here, welcome. And if you are returning, I am so glad to see you again. Let's get growing, y'all. Okay, you all, I don't have quite enough tomatoes to actually make a tomato sauce with right now. These are just the first tomatoes that are coming in, so what I want to do is preserve these these tomatoes. What I want to do is preserve them. So what we're going to do, which is going to be a little different than you all are used to, typically before you would freeze them, a lot of people, to get the skins off, would boil a pot of hot water, and then you'd have a bowl with ice in it, and you'd make an X, an X cut at the bottom, put it in the boiling water, let it sit there for a minute or two, and then put it in the ice water and then let it cool so you could peel the skins off. But that is a process that takes a long time. And last year when canning season was going on, there was a lady on Instagram, and I wish I knew who she was, because it was like one of those videos that you saw and then you kind of passed by it and you left it in your thought process, but you didn't remember who did it. So the way she did it was brilliant. She would cut the tops off, of course, and clean the tomatoes just like you normally would. Then she would score it on the back. Then it gets put onto a cookie sheet with parchment paper, and they are roasted, and then she lets them cool, and I kid you not, she was going around and grabbing the tomatoes and just pulling off skins like this. It was that easy. So that's the way we're gonna do it. I did it last year for the first time, and man, was it a time saver when it came to making sauces. So let's get it to it, okay? Okay, let me show you how it all begins. Before I do any canning, since all this has been laying in its tote since November, everything comes out and it gets cleaned. This is my canning pot, this is the canning lids, these are all my canning accessories, and then the jars are all cleaned. And then when it comes time to seal, you can see the little tops right here. I'll take those and dip them into some hot steamy water before putting them on top of the jar. Okay, let me show you what I got. I've got my tomatoes already cleaned and washed, freezer bag here, cutting board, and my cookie sheet with parchment paper on top of it. So we're going to get these cleaned up. I'm going to show you how I do it. So it's pretty easy. We're going to cut the top off. Just a little bit of top. That's going to go to my chickens, and you're literally just going to score it just like you would if you were going to put it into boiling water. And then they're going to be put on the cookie sheet. And I'm gonna do this for all of them, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it. Okay, as you can see, they're all done, all on one sheet. We're gonna put just a little bit of salt and pepper on them, just to kind of flavor them a little bit, and we're gonna get them in the oven. All right, this salt I'm using is something I get from Malta, Italy, and I will link it down in the description. Yes, it's a little expensive on the shipping because the bag is only $7, but the shipping, because the prices are just crazy right now, is a little expensive, but I'm telling you, it is so worth it. All right, we're gonna get these into the oven at 350. Probably do it for about 20 to 25 minutes, just until that skin is soft, and it makes it easier to get it off of there. All right, so here they are. You can see, let me see if I can move them. There we go. You can see the skins. Let me zoom in on it. If you look, okay. You can see that the skins will just pull right off. We're gonna let those cool off, and then we'll finish processing them. Okay, we're gonna finish these off. Pretty simple. Just pull the skin. Now that they're nice and cooled, we're just gonna pull that skin off. And then we're just gonna put them in the freezer bag. And we're gonna do that for all of them. Alright, there you go. We'll stick that in the freezer until we got enough tomatoes to start making tomato sauce. Easy peasy. Okay, I've gotten most of the prep work done. I did most of the garlic, but I thought, and most of the tomatoes, and I thought we would just finish off cutting up the tomatoes, smashing the garlic, julienne and the basil, and cutting up the onions. But I wanted to let you all know that all the ingredients that are being used in this dish all came out of our garden. The basil, the garlic, the tomatoes, and the onions all came from our garlic. I wanted to mention that the salt that I'm using is a sea salt. It's a Goza salt from Malta, Italy, and I will link that down in the description for you so you all can go buy some. It's one of the best salts that I've ever had in my life. So first, let's finish up these tomatoes. Most of these little tomatoes like this, I'm just gonna cut in half. We're just gonna cut those in half and get those in the bowl. These bigger ones though, can you see my hand? Cut in half. We're gonna cut in fourths, like that, the bigger ones. And throw those in. Now the recipe that I'm using is from someone I follow on Pinterest, and I will link her blog down at the bottom, down in the description. But we are basically tripling her recipe that she has on there. Her recipe is just for one small jar, or a couple of small jars, whatever. Now this is something that I started eating years ago, and I used to just make it a couple of jars at a time, put it in the refrigerator, and then we would eat it. But last year I took on the experiment of canning it, and that's how we're gonna finish this off today. We're actually going to can these. But I took on the experiment of canning it just to see if it will work, and sure enough, it worked. So all the tomatoes are cut up. Her recipe calls for a half a pound of tomatoes. I've already weighed this. We have 3 pounds of tomatoes. So as you can see, we are tripling her recipe. The garlic, she calls, I've already cleaned it, I've already prepped it and cleaned it, but she says to smash it. So we're gonna smash the garlic, just like that. The onion is thinly sliced, as it is in most. Take the lid off. Trash can's behind me. And then we just take it, just separate it. So we want those thin slices to go into, that's interesting. Now these little pieces of basil are too small to julienne. So if you don't know what julienne is, it's taking, I've already washed and cleaned these. You're gonna lay all of your basil on top of one another. I always do it like this. And it's simple if you haven't done it before. That little one there. And then take it, and we're gonna do it from the back side here. And we are gonna roll it as tight as we can. Take our knife. Okay, and there you go. It's julienne. We'll just put that on top of the onions for now. Move this out of my way. Oh, it smells so good in here. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna move that over to the sink. We no longer need it. Okay, so we have our large thing of tomatoes. We're gonna go ahead and just dump our onions here and our basil into here. Now the recipe calls for 1/4 of an onion per half of pound. And then on the basil is optional. You don't have to put basil in if you don't like the taste of basil. We're gonna stir it around just like that. Get all this off my hands. Rinse it. Okay, now we're going to take, is that no, it's half a tablespoon. I'm going to do 2 teaspoons of salt, because this is a pretty, if you can see it, it's pretty granular, so we don't want a lot. Ground black pepper. Then stir that up. That's going to allow those juices to be released, which is going to give it that delicious tomato marinated taste. Okay, now the half a pound recipe calls for 1/4 of a cup of olive oil. Now I'm just using organic olive oil that I got at Walmart. So 1/4 of a cup, so we have 3 pounds, so that would be, what would that be, a half a cup per pound, because it's 1 pound. So it would be 1.5 cups of olive oil that we're going to be putting in here. And you want to use a pretty decent olive oil, you know, use something that's good. Okay, then on the apple cider vinegar, it says 1 tablespoon per half pound. Again, we have 3 pounds, so we're gonna do 6 tablespoons. Whoop, be a little careful. Those up and out of the way. There's a little bit of oil left in there. We don't want to lose any of that. That up out of the way. Take our spoon, and we're gonna stir it up. There's what it looks like. Now I'll show you how I'm going to put the garlic in and the lemon juice that goes in here. Okay, we are going to be using pint-size mason jars to put our tomatoes in. So let me show you how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to take 1 smashed garlic and put it at the bottom. Actually 2 smashed garlics at the bottom. Then we're going to take the jar, our ladle, and I might add, before I do any of this, I always clean and sanitize anything that I am going to be using and anything that I do. Okay, then I'm going to take 2 more smashed cloves like this, put it right at the top, plus 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. Right at the very top. Just like that. Okay, I'm going to continue to fill these, and then we'll come back and show you what we're going to do to finish them off. Okay, so I have some simmering water right here, and then I have my lid, my sealant lid. I'm going to dip it into the water here. Kind of heat up that ring. Make sure that our tops are clean really good, so that we don't get any kind of funky unsealed jar. This is the way my mom and my grandmother used to do it, so this is the way I do it. So we're going to screw these lids on. We are not going to screw them down tight. Just a little bit, you know, so it keeps the lid on when it goes in the water. We don't want water getting in either. But we also don't want it really tight because we don't want to bust these jars. You gotta remember there's oil inside of here, so it's gonna heat up. So see, about that tight is all you need. Just enough to hold that lid down. And then you can screw it down even tighter once you get it out. Let's move that out of the way. Here's my big pot. Now my water is not boiling. Do not allow your water to boil, or your glass is gonna do this and it's gonna break. You just want it nice and hot and simmering. You can see the steam coming off of it. So we're going to put these in here. Okay, we're going to let those go for 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and show you how I finish it. Okay, it's been 10 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and get these out. And if you look closely, you can see that that oil is boiling in there. That's why you don't need more than 10 minutes. Show it to you again. You see the oil boiling? Okay, y'all, we're going to go ahead and tighten these down. Put my other glove on. Get them as tight as we can, so that seal will take hold. Nice and tight. Okay, so if you watched, we had a little extra. I'm gonna put that in the refrigerator for my husband and I. If you watched my garlic video where I talk about being an Italian woman and Italian family, I'm going to show you something that my Italian aunt taught me to do many years ago, and I've kind of stuck with it because I've gotten better seals with it. So let me show you what she did. Nobody panic. Upside down. Remember, the liquid inside is hot. Now, what she said is the hot liquid inside causes that seal to kind of suck up to the top. And then the other thing that my mother, my grandmother, my aunt, all of them did and they will stay like this for the rest of the night. And we will listen for the seals to pop down. Hey y'all, let me know down in the comments, are you already preserving your harvest that you're getting in? You know, we had the early spring harvest and we've already taken care of that. And we're gonna have 2 more preservation harvests. We still have some onions that we have to string up. Plus we're gonna be making some onion powder. We're gonna take that other garlic and make garlic powder. So those videos will be coming up. So I really wanna hear how you all preserve your harvest from your garden, no matter what it is. Let us know down in the comments some of your favorite things you love to do. Like I said, that tomato marinade is my absolute favorite way, other than tomato spaghetti sauce. That's my absolute favorite way to preserve tomatoes to have later on in the year. It's kind of like a bruschetta, but the tomato flavor is so intensified once it sits there for a little while and it marinates in that tomato juice and the olive oil. But if you all found some value in this video, please give us a like and a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this where we're cooking in the kitchen with our harvest, or even more preservation videos, let me know down in the comments as well. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button, because new videos are posted often and I would hate for you to miss anything. Until I see you in the next video, you all keep your heads up, you take care of yourselves, but more importantly, no matter how you do it, you keep growing. Bye bye, y'all.